Hi everyone, this is Andreas, your garden coordinator here at the Maryland Magrum Center Wellness Garden. In today's video, we will be talking about cover crops, which are some of our best helpers in organic fruit and vegetable cultivation systems. Cover crops are plants that are grown not to eat, but to cover the soil in between plantings, increase soil fertility, and provide a number of other additional benefits to your garden. Cover crops are typically short-lived annual plants that are either sown prior to planting out your main crop or are interplanted with whatever you are growing, especially if you're growing fruit trees or other perennials. You can sort of think of cover crops as an engineered weed mixture that you control the growth of. In nature, weeds act as pioneer plants. In other words, they serve the purpose of restoring and revitalizing ecosystems that have been damaged or destroyed by natural disasters or human activity. Cover crops replicate this process in our garden and therefore allow us to rejuvenate and revitalize our soil without us having to apply large amounts of soil amendments or fertilizer. The cover crops we have sown in this bed and in other beds around the garden will prime the soil in preparation for the planting out of nutrient-hungry warm season crops in the spring. The mix we have sown here is a multi-species cover crop mix. In a multi-species cover crop mix, each seed variety that is included serves one or more functions. For example, the clovers, peas, and vetch in this mix are nitrogen fixers. They serve the purpose of increasing nitrogen levels within the soil by partnering with naturally occurring beneficial bacteria that are able to pull it directly from the atmosphere. In this way, atmospheric nitrogen can be made available to whatever plants we decide to put here during the next growing season. On the other hand, our grasses, like the triticale and winter wheat in this mix, form dense mats of fibrous roots that both increase soil porosity and organic matter below the surface and stimulate the growth of beneficial microbes and fungi that improve soil quality. Other plants included in such a mix may have strong, large taproots that break up compacted soil, or may provide other benefits such as weed suppression and the provision of habitat to beneficial insects. These cover crops are already growing and thriving, so let's rewind a little bit to show you what went into this.
Now let's mix our cover crops. We purchased this mix online. As you can see, there's a number of different kinds of seeds in the bag, 9 in total for this particular mix. The legumes in this mix have already been pre-treated with the bacteria they need to fix nitrogen, but in some cases you may need to purchase an inoculum of these bacteria and treat the seeds yourself. In addition to the cover crop mix, I will be mixing in a small portion of flower seeds. This is a totally optional step, but these flowers will further increase the diversity of our cover crop and attract numerous beneficial insects. Next, I will be treating our seeds with compost tea made from worm castings we produced here in the Wellness Garden. This will inoculate the seeds with even more beneficial biology that will work together with the cover crops to improve the fertility and structure of the soil. I like to use a large mason jar for this process. After adding a tiny splash of the compost tea, cover the mouth of the jar and shake the seeds around gently but thoroughly to coat them evenly. If you add too much compost tea, the seeds will get too wet and will begin to stick to the jar. You can correct this by adding a little bit of dry or slightly moist compost or garden soil and then shaking the seeds around gently but thoroughly once again so that the excess moisture is soaked up and the seeds are evenly mixed. Now that our seeds are evenly mixed up, it's time to sow them in our raised bed. Be sure to remove any noxious weeds prior to sowing. Some winter peas and vetch from last year's cover crop began to come up in this bed, and we decided to leave them, but you can remove any volunteers if you like. Broadcast the seeds densely and as evenly as you can using the coverage recommendations on the bag as a general guideline. Your main goal here is to sow the seeds densely enough so that the entire bed is completely covered by the end of the season. After you have sowed your cover crops, gently work them in with your hands or a cultivator and then water them in thoroughly. The cover crops should germinate within a week and then grow to form a dense stand in the bed that resembles a small meadow. Cover crops generally do not require any fertilizer unless you are working with extremely poor soil. In the meantime, just keep them watered and watch them grow.
Thank you for joining us today. Hopefully you now know a thing or two about how and why to plant cover crops. Join us again in the spring if you want to see the results of a whole season of growth. We will also be demonstrating how to terminate or kill cover crops so that they don't go to seed and become weeds. See you next time, everyone, and happy growing!